Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is episode 37. Can't believe it. Of Heart to Heart with Hazel. And um, I will just point out that we've got uh, Teresa? Are you going to be doing all the moderating? Oh, Carol is there as well. Okay. So obviously, Carol and Teresa are going to keep things flowing and useful information happening in the chat. Now, before we start talking to Lisa, we have to give credit to Melissa for suggesting you, Lisa, as a guest. And I understand, I don't know where is Melissa Canadian too?
Yeah,
Yes, I
she's in
think so.
Ontario.
Yeah, okay, so that's good. So we have her as the matchmaker that brought us together because you, of course, are in Ontario, I'm in Alberta, and yet, nothing will ever come between us but Saskatchewan and Manitoba.
Yep.
We didn't know about each other, so thank you,
No,
Melissa.
no.
So, as is typical, as I'm getting ready for an interview, I binge watch, I skulk around, you know, uh, well, I don't really like going to social media, but I checked out your Etsy shop and read the little about part on your channel. So I know a few things and I know where I want to go with the conversation. And one thing I've been dying to ask you is what is the significance of your channel name? Who are Isla and Alice?
Isla and Alice are my grandmothers.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
Isla was my mom's mom, and Alice was my baba, my dad's mom, my grandmother on my dad's side.
And when Melissa suggested your channel, the first thing I did was go to have a peek at your channel because I thought, I feel that I can do my best work if I like the person that, I'm going to be talking to. And I happened to pick a video where you mentioned the word baba, which of course is Ukrainian for grandmother. I noticed that you have funky glasses, as do I.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed that you laugh easily,
Mm-hmm.
that you have maybe an offbeat sense of humor like I do. We're
Mm-hmm.
practically rocking the same hairdo. And I thought, oh, we're separated at birth. We it's inevitable that we meet.
Yes.
So, in honor of the occasion, we're each wearing
Mm-hmm.
a kerchief, essentially. Mine, you have, or is yours a shawl size?
Mine's bigger. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
mine is just the kerchief size that Ukrainian grandmothers would have worn. So maybe I'll jump off at that point. Do like how important is your ethnicity to you? Like I know you said it was just on your father's side. He's Ukrainian. So what nationality would your mother be?
My mom's side is Scottish and British.
Oh, okay.
So I actually did a ancestry test thingamajigger a few years ago.
Yeah.
So I'm something crazy like 63% Eastern European, and then the rest of it sort of fizzles out into British and Scandinavian. Of course, there's always that crossover, but um, you know, I wish I knew more about the Ukrainian side of my family.
Yeah.
The parts that I do know are I have to, it's a little heartbreaking. A lot of what I do know about that side of the family, it was not an easy wasn't an easy life, especially for my grandmother, Alice. Um, and I wish, but the one thing my dad says all the time is that they wanted to leave the old country in the old country. So they didn't speak,
Oh.
right? They didn't speak Ukrainian in the house. My dad and all his siblings, they weren't taught to speak Ukrainian. They tried to be as un-Ukrainian. as they could on some level.
Yeah.
And so there is this part of me that just wishes that there was just so much more that I could have gotten from them about this incredible ancestry that we have.
Yeah.
Other than the food, they really just didn't seem to want to. They weren't keen on saying
Yeah.
too much.
Well, and I think that that is, you've hit the nail on the head. And I felt exactly the same way, even though both my parents were Ukrainian. They're both deceased, but both were Ukrainian. I feel that they didn't do, and again, this will sound like criticism, but it's just the way it is, that they didn't do enough of indoctrinating us into the language, the customs, and all of that. So when I became a mother, I had really nothing much to pass on to my children. And so it gets diluted with every generation. Several years ago, I had the I pitched an idea for our Ukrainian festival, and the county went for it. And I was the chief cook and bottle washer, festival coordinator for a Ukrainian festival for 10 years. So that let me, delve back into it. But yeah, it's definitely a case of use it or lose it.
Do you speak it?
Um, Poorly.
Okay. Well, that's
But
better than nothing.
But I think as Canadians, we can take a lesson from the French and from the Indigenous. They have really taken the idea of preserving their culture to an art form. They know how to do it, and the rest of us could surely learn from that. Anyway, I want to say hi to some of the people who are here, because and Teresa lives in the state of Washington. She's a sports nut, and she is still celebrating the fact that the Seattle Mariners won the Super Bowl the other day. So her hearts are all in team colors. Okay, so we've got Teresa, we've got Melissa, we've got Carol. And of course, I'm sure the girls will be on it, but of course, we ask anyone in the chat or watching the replay to give this a thumbs up. Lisa knows that, by tomorrow she'll be able to have the replay on her channel as well. And that, as much as we hate to admit it, these things do count somewhere. Okay, who else? Denise is here. Hope is here. And of course, hopefully the link to Hope's channel be included. I think now she has 2 videos under her belt, so we got to help her get her numbers up. Oh yeah, there's the link. Teresa says, I love Lisa's laugh on her videos. And honestly, your laugh is pretty darn good and contagious. Beth is here. Seahawks. So Mariners are a different team. Oh, see, Melissa says that her husband and son are Indigenous. Okay. Jude is here. Gigi is here. Welcome, welcome. Okay, so let's carry on here. So you've named your channel after your 2 grandmothers. How old is your channel, and what made you take the plunge or make the plunge to YouTube in the first place?
So first, I don't know. The channel I think is 3 years old-ish, I think. I didn't really have any real light bulb moment with YouTube. I'd been playing around a little bit with Instagram and having fun over there. And I was watching a lady that I know from Instagram. She has a YouTube channel where she does a lot of collage, gorgeous collage work. And I was just watching her one day and I thought she's having a lot of fun. Like, she's having a lot of fun. And it just sort of occurred to me that maybe I needed that kind of fun in my life as well. And, I just sort of thought, well, if she can do it, then I could probably do it. And I thought, let's just try 2 or 3 videos, see how it feels. And yeah, the rest is history, as they say. I didn't have this, it wasn't a burning need or something that I had to have for the business. I just thought it would be a really nice way to meet people and to have some fun.
Yeah. So now you have, I think you have quite a few subscribers. And of course, as much as I try to tell myself it's not about the numbers, it's what am I getting out of doing it? And I would do it even if nobody watched. The cold, hard facts are we all want to see our numbers grow. So if your channel is only 3 years old, you have some pretty good subscriber numbers. So did you bring a huge Instagram following over to your YouTube? So what is your secret? What did you do? Is it the laughing or is it the cats?
I think
Because I'm not a cat person.
You're not a cat person. I think it's a little bit of both. And the other thing is, I decided early on that I was going to do it my way. And I wasn't going to listen necessarily.
You and Frank Sinatra.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in the sense that I just thought I'm not going to be, I'm going to try not to be heavily influenced by other people, by what they're doing or what other people are telling me. Because I did find at the very beginning, I had a few friends that were like, okay, if you're going to have a YouTube channel, you have to do this, this, and this, and don't do this. And all of a sudden I was inundated with rules, which, I'm not a big fan of. So I just thought I'm just going to turn on the camera and I'm just going to be myself and see what happens. And if people like me, they like me. And if they don't, then I'll figure out a polite way to leave YouTube or something. I don't know,
So did you, obviously I didn't go back and try to determine which was your first video or anything like that. Did you always choose to start out your video facing the camera? And do you think that made a difference?
Yes, I did, especially at the beginning, for 2 reasons. One is that I found it frustrating, and I will admit freely, I'm quite nosy when it comes to certain aspects of other people's lives, but I found it frustrating to watch somebody's video, watch their channel and never know what they look like. I had a real, that was a bit of a pet peeve, but I understand why people don't want to put their face on camera. 100%. I respect that. But I felt that I thought it would be an easy way to get people to know me. Again, it's that connection. So if people see my face and they don't like the way I sound or the giggle or whatever it is, and I'm not for them, that's fine. There's somebody out there for everybody on YouTube. But I just sort of felt like I needed that connection with people as much as I felt they would need to see me. So when I'm sitting here and I'm talking on YouTube, I literally feel like all those ladies that show up every time, they're just sitting in front of me and we're just talking, right?
I find, and of course it's too late for any of us who were, the anonymous ones in the beginning. I find that fascinating, and maybe the people in the chat could, oh, hi Susan, could just weigh in and tell us, do you feel closer to people whose faces you see, or are you happy with anonymous creators whose hands you recognize? And I'd be interested, obviously this is an informal small sample here, but I'd be interested to know what you guys think about that. So if you don't mind, let us know. Again, I've watched a number of your channels. I commented on every one.
Thank you.
And you have, your logo is very simple, but it's turquoise and red.
Mm-hmm.
And based on some of the imagery I've seen in videos and perhaps through what I saw on Etsy, it seems that you're into retro and nostalgia. So maybe talk a bit about that. Why do you love it so much?
Ooh, that's a loaded question. Um, I've been, you know, I've been shopping at the Goodwill since I could walk, practically. So I think it's just somehow encoded in my DNA about I just always loved older vintage things. Even when I was a little kid, I just gravitated towards I guess part of it is I find things that come from the different decades a little more interesting. I love the design aspects of the 50s and the 60s. I love the colors. I love the silhouettes and the shapes of retro much more than what we have going on now, let's say. Um, it's again, it's one of those sort of things you can't quite pinpoint, but it feels like home. Nostalgia, vintage stuff
Yeah.
feels like there's a comfort to it that
Yeah.
I'm addicted to, you
Yeah.
know.
Are you going to introduce the cat,
This is Lucy.
Lucy? And
Lu-
isn't there a Sophie?
Sophie, yes. Usually Sophie's a little bit more social, but um, Lucy's a little bit more of the grumpy of the two.
Oh. I want to say hi to Vicky, who has joined us. And of course, a lot of these people have been previous guests. So I think, there's certainly a lot of fun. Not that you need moral support, because I think this is a pretty good gig. But yeah, a lot of these people have been in your shoes. I know one of the things I noticed in your workspace, and tell me, like I know that envy and coveting stuff is a sin, but are those vases of the ladies' heads, are those the real thing? The ones that are worth hundreds of dollars?
Well, I don't know if they would be hundreds, but they weren't. Uh, two were gifts.
Oh,
And
lucky girl.
I know. Um, and I purchased one for like $25, but sorry,
25 bucks is a bargain.
it's pretty chipped. You know, she's been
Oh,
banged up a little bit over the years. Um,
she's been around the block a
I was
time or
gonna
two.
say, yeah, but yeah, some of them go for an enormous amount of money, and
Yeah.
I've seen them in all kinds of shapes and sizes.
Yeah.
I
They're beautiful. And there's an antique store not that far from where I live, and the woman has a huge selection. But they are, I haven't bit the bullet yet to buy one, but it's one of those things. I might have to just
you
admire
might
yours from afar. Um, another thing you seem to collect is what I would call a train case. Those smallest suitcases in those old sets. So what's your fascination with those?
I love the idea that they would be filled with all these retro jars of creams and potions and perfumes. And again, it's this very elegant nostalgia of women carrying these things on a train and
Yeah.
having all of, just it's sort of the antithesis of how we do things today. And
Yeah.
they're great shape. There's something about, clicking them open and shut, right? The little handle. Um, it's just the design of it. I think that's
Yeah.
so interesting.
Now, I think like most of us, I can't resist an organizational or a tour video. So I know, your thing is really doing some weird stuff here.
I just noticed.
You're
I'm
zooming in and
moving.
out, but
I'm,
special effects are brought to you by the ghost in the studio. I don't know.
well, maybe it's my Baba. Maybe she's here helping out.
Yeah.
I don't know what's happening.
Yeah. So,
Sorry.
you were talking about I guess you have a fetish for washi tape, and
Yeah.
maybe we'll talk about that later. But you were kind of showing us around your space, and I noticed you had a number of those train cases. You have cookie tins and all sorts of decorative containers, and you verbalized what many of us think. We're drawn to the aesthetic of the container and the look of it in our spaces, but we know it's not the least bit practical because we need to see what we have.
Yes.
So, how do you reconcile the issue of if I don't see it, I forget I own it and I forget to use it, with the whole idea of making your place a pretty place to work in?
I guess I sort of, oh, that's a very good question. How do I reconcile? I mean, basically I sort of do that whole Marie Kondo thing where
Yeah.
right, where if you look at it and it brings you joy, then it stays, and
Yeah.
it sort of, it gets a spot. Sometimes I rotate things around a little bit, so that I have fresh perspective on what I'm looking at all the time. But that is definitely a challenge, you know, keeping things in an organized way so that you remember that you have them, but also keeping them organized in such a way that is aesthetically pleasing
Yeah.
can be two totally different things, right?
Yeah.
And I am sadly attached to both of those things.
And I think if you're at all like me, it seems that when we, take the time to look into those containers, look into those little hiding spots, those beautiful containers, as it were, it's almost like Christmas all over again because we discover things that we bought and paid for or had gifted to us that we've totally forgot to incorporate and use in our work.
Yeah.
So,
well, and the thing is, it's interesting too, is like I tell people, this is a collection of 35 years in the making, right? Like it didn't just happen overnight, so to speak. And you do get emotionally attached to things that you really you don't need to be attached to, but here we are. We keep them because we like them, right?
Yeah. Well, and frankly, whether it was, I can never remember the guy who said it. I think he was either an architect. He's famous, totally famous, and Marie Kondo as well. That the man said essentially that we should surround ourselves by things that we find beautiful or useful. And if we follow that rule, we can justify just about anything.
Yeah.
You don't know me very well yet, but I am the queen of rationalization. So if you ever need help rationalizing something, just reach out and I can do it for you.
Oh, it's good to know. That'll come in.
Yeah.
Thank you in advance.
So, in one of your videos, you meant, or no, not on your videos, it's in your Etsy shop that it says you've been on Etsy for 19 years.
Yeah.
That's mind blowing to me. So obviously you're not one of those people who got fed up or whatever and said, screw this. You've hung in there probably through the ebb and flow of how the platform has changed. So in your mind, and I'm willing to be convinced here, Teresa says that I rationalize, enable people all the time. So talk a bit about the pros and cons of Etsy and what thought process people should use if they're trying to decide to take the plunge or not.
That's kind of loaded right now. I remember the day I found Etsy, and I remember it was 2007, and I remember where I was. The
day that Elvis died?
Yeah, I was with my Baba the day that Elvis died. We were watching true crime shows together. I was 9. Anyways, I found it and I just thought, oh my God, I can't believe there's something like this. And at the time, Etsy was handmade, period. Just handmade. A little bit of supply, a little bit of vintage. And I remember going through these shops and just being completely gobsmacked by the creativity. It was I mean, I was like, I'm at home. Like this is amazing, right?
Yeah.
And so I would say the first, I don't know how long, I was just a customer. I didn't have a shop there really. And at the time I was making and selling clothing and I had my store. So I was not emotionally prepared to try and sell clothing over the internet at that time,
Yeah.
for a million reasons. And it wasn't until I quit clothing and I started with paper that I decided, okay, shipping and all that kind of thing is going to be a much easier with paper than it would have been with clothing, and returns and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But the evolution of Etsy has been, how do I put this delicately? What was once, this beautiful haven of creativity slowly turned into something that a lot of us hardly recognized. And at this stage of the game, I change my opinion almost hourly about my feelings on Etsy, but Etsy now is just another platform. Unfortunately, it's not, in my opinion, it doesn't, I mean, there is still amazing artistry on there. And if you dig through it, you can find all these amazing people. But sadly, it's just like so many other things, it's been watered down.
Yeah.
And
Don't you find, sorry, don't you find that they have the worst search engine known to
yes,
man?
yes, absolutely.
Like, what the hell? With all the fees they charge, shouldn't they have that down to a science?
Yeah, they rely heavily on bots and algorithms, which shows,
And probably pay like boosted content, like say paid content. I mean, whatever it's called, the ad
the ads.
aspect of it, which some of us aren't prepared to pay for.
No.
Before I let you finish your thought, I just want to stay caught up with the chat. So Jude Young says, putting things into clear containers or plastic so we can see them and use them up. All good, but she doesn't always do it. Well, of course, like, welcome to my world. We have good intentions. We know intellectually all the good reasons to do whatever it is we should be doing, but doesn't. And she says, Lordy, I have a forgiving hubby, but need to get things under control. And Teresa was babysitting and watching the Brady Bunch when Elvis died.
Oh, oh, how dramatic.
I was pregnant and working at the Treasury Branch, which was a provincial bank here in Alberta. And yeah, we had a radio playing in the bank there, and yeah, shocked, absolutely shocked. How could that be? Jude says, beautiful scarves, Hazel, you and Lisa are wearing. Love it. We need color in our lives. And another thing, I don't know about you, but in Alberta, these sorts of scarves are very often worn by Indigenous women as well, because I think there's a real Indigenous Ukrainian connection. And I know from the little bit of history that I remember that a lot as immigrants made their way into Canada to this wilderness where they had to break the land, and sure, they got the farm free in the end, but there was nothing there. Yeah, there was nothing there except bush. So because Indigenous people lived on the land first, they helped a lot of our immigrants survive those harsh winters and whatever. Okay, anyway, Teresa says, I agree, Hazel. The first time I tried to search for junk journal anything, it was horrible. Oh, Teresa was 14, and I guess Elvis was her boyfriend. Okay.
Oh, my condolences.
So, and of course, I think we did a little bit of a rant before we went live, so I don't think we're going to, risk offending anyone or replow, or how does that go? Replow the same ground. But I think the whole selling aspect has changed because of the economic chaos that exists between our countries and essentially around the world. So it's not a good time to try to be selling one's wares, especially to an international market. So, but you continue to keep your shop there on Etsy. So it must, on the whole, the pros must outweigh the cons. Is that fair to say? You haven't stopped to think about it recently.
I'm like, wait a minute. Well, to be honest with you, I keep the shop because it is another platform, and it's relatively easy to have everything there.
Yeah.
I do have my standalone website, which these days I do try and push people to go to my website and purchase there, even though I know a lot of people feel more safe shopping on a platform like Etsy or even eBay for that matter, because it's a well-known platform.
Yeah.
And sometimes buying from an individual website can be a little bit daunting if you think the person might be a bit shady. Which, but I, to be honest with you, I've hardly sold anything on there since August. I've taken a loss on Etsy because of renewal fees and all of that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it is another way for people to find me. And the writing on the wall, I think, for difficulties for small business and micro business and e-commerce, there was sort of cracks in the armor even before the whole de minimis tariff. I mean, this has been a long time coming. And so as painful as what happened in August was, and it really literally nailed the coffin shut. I wasn't taken. I just felt like it was just another thing. It was just something else that was coming along
Yeah.
that was making it more difficult. And I say this a lot, and I'm to be brutally honest with you, I'm not really interested in the business part of things. I just want to make nice stuff and sell it.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I always make jokes that I would have benefited some point from a business class at some point, but and that's the hard truth, is that I'm the artsy fartsy girl. I want to make fun things and share that with people and have nice people have nice things for me. I really resent having to be business minded at all, which is not a clear setup for success on many levels. But there you have it.
Okay, I want to say hi to Julie from Day Trip Vintage. Welcome, welcome. And Lovely's Crafting Lodge is here as well. And she says, love, 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 Lisa. Totally geeking out.
Thank you.
Okay. You said, and see, this is where I fell down in my research. I didn't go to your website. However, below your videos, I noticed that you have some merchandise. So is that, if people click on, and we'll talk about your Halloween fetish in a bit, but if people click on a Halloween journal below your video, does that take them to your website?
Yes.
Okay, so that's the store aspect of that. Okay. Yep. I've honestly, I think over the course of my life, I bought my domain name a couple of times. I paid for some training, and then I don't do a damn thing with it. And it just burns my you know what, to think about having to do one more thing like
No.
that. So how do you manage a website, and is it worth the effort that it takes to do it? Or is the goal to replace your Etsy presence? Do you have a coffee shop?
No. Well,
KOFI?
oh, I just signed up like a month ago, but I haven't done anything with it yet. But yes,
Okay.
I'm going to go down that road because I sadly, well, not sadly, but for good or for bad, I feel I'm going to have to go down a more digital road than I currently am.
Oh, yeah. So is the idea then to replace Etsy? Like if you can get to the point where you can drive people to your website, then you would drop Etsy? Is that
Yes.
the idea?
Yes.
Yeah.
For a few reasons. One, it's very expensive for Canadians in particular. I mean, it's expensive and well, it's okay. I'll backtrack a little bit. As a platform, the fees themselves, I don't find particularly egregious for what they're supposedly going to do for you. My issue is that they make us Canadians pay for the federal tax out of our sale. That makes me crazy that they do that to us. But they can, and so they do.
You
And
mean
yes,
GST?
yeah. So if I sell something for $113, let's say after fees, I have to take the $13 of the HST out of my $100 and then remit that to the government. Etsy doesn't collect the tax and then remit it for us like they do for the States or other countries. We have to remit and take that tax money out of whatever profits we have.
Are you sure about that?
100,000%. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Because
Note to self.
well, because I mean, when they first announced this, I mean, I had gone to my accountant. I mean, lots of people were like, wait. Well, they can, so they do. They don't
Yeah.
want to deal. They don't want to deal with the CRA. So there's that part of it.
I just want to say hi to Carrie, the paper monkey. Welcome, Carrie. Okay, what else is happening here? So, great job putting the links in there. Oh, Judy G is here as well. She's saying, Lisa, only if you are registered for GST HST, she thinks.
Yes.
Anyway, we'll have to get to the bottom of that because you're clearly doing it one way and I'm doing it another way. So
well,
one
I
of
am
us is about to be audited.
Well, I am registered. I mean, no, if you're not registered with the GST, if your sales are under the 30,000, I believe that's the
Yeah, you don't have to have a number.
Right. And I am by no means making 30,000 on my Etsy shop, but having had my business and my business license and registered for so long, that's why
Yeah.
So
let's switch gears because nobody really wants to talk about their revenue agency wherever in whatever country they live or taxes or fees. Now I've heard you say in your videos, and you mentioned it again before we went live, that you went to fashion school, and now you said that that was you had the bricks and mortar store as well. So talk a bit about that. Why did you pick that path? And have the skills you learned been transferable to what you're doing now?
I went to fashion school. My grandmother, who is Isla of the Isla and Alice, she taught me how to sew when I was 5 or 6. And so I started sewing very early on. And when it
Let
came
me interrupt. Sorry, interrupt. Is that hand sewing or on the sewing machine?
She taught me how to hand sew first.
Okay, good.
And then I, of course, learned how to use a machine. And I was obsessed with sewing forever and ever. So after high school, it was like, well, this is what I'm good at. So let's see if I can turn this into something where it's going to be a job. et cetera, et cetera. So my grandmother was the one who encouraged me to go to fashion school and to she set me up for success. My grandmother was the one who set me up in the sense that she set me up for my artistic success. She was the one that encouraged me to pursue my artistic goals and to have a creative life. My grandmother herself was very creative, and she wanted that for me as well. So the one thing, when I was going to fashion school back when the dinosaurs roamed the earth, they were more interested in in preparing us to go work in factories, because back in the day we had a lot of factories in southwestern Ontario, and so they wanted us to go and be pattern makers, or all that kind of thing. And but I decided early on I was going to be self-employed, and I wanted to have my own clothing line, and I wanted to be like Calvin Klein and
or Joe Mimbran.
Yeah, well,
because we were talking about Joe Fresh earlier.
Yeah, well, back in the day, but there was a culture, and at that point where there was a real, there was still a little bit of a hangover, if you will, from the 60s fashion, where they had young people opening up small fashion houses and having these independent lines and really quirky and interesting boutiques. And there still was this period of time where people were going downtown to shop, and ladies were looking for particular, they didn't want to go to Eaton's or Simpson's, or, they wanted other interesting pieces to choose from. And so that was my goal. That was my goal, to have my own little line of clothing. And so I started wholesaling actually after college. And I did that for about 10 years across Canada and a little bit into the US.
Holy cow.
So that
was us rubbing shoulders with the rich and famous.
Yeah. Well, but it got to the point where I had to decide I was either going to have to move to Toronto and look for investment and make some really big money grown-up decisions. And I knew that that wasn't going to be for me at all. So then I decided that I would open up a store and have my own little store instead, and sort of fall in the footsteps of like Mary Quant, for example, or Biba out of London, England. I was heavily influenced by all these amazing designers from England who had these little shops, and that's really what I wanted.
So you would have been selling one-ofs. Because you would have been doing all your own sewing.
Yeah.
So it's not like you came out with a line in a whole range of sizes or whatever.
Well,
it was more custom-ish.
No, I didn't want to do custom, but I would have a dress, and I would make the pattern, and then I would make a small, medium, large of the exact same thing. That kind of idea. And so from clothing, then I made bags and aprons and skirts, and then jewelry, and eventually I made everything, because I wanted to have this, I wanted to have my own little department store.
And were you Isla and Alice then?
No, my name then was Wheezy, which was a W-E-E, Wheezy, like the Jeffersons. Yeah, it was a nickname that I got in college, and it just stuck. So
I just want to say hi to Christina, so that I know, or what I'm noticing is that sometimes I ask how in English we used to learn about compound sentences. I find that I ask compound questions. So the second part of my question was, those skills that you learned during the college experience and the 10 years as an entrepreneur, and obviously the sewing too, how transferable have those skills been to what you're doing now?
I don't know. I mean, that's a tough one, Hazel.
Do you incorporate fabric, sewing, lace, all that kind of stuff in your work, in your journals and so on?
Yes. I have to admit, when I closed the store in 2013, 13, I vowed never to touch fabric and lace again. However, never say never.
Yeah.
And I've actually, you know what, in the last year, 6 months, I've actually started incorporating threads and fabrics and all of those things. I have a room full of stuff that I've kept since I've closed the store. So I have to start using some of that up. But yeah, I like the texture that those things bring to journals. I like the texture of laces and different kinds of fabrics, and sewing in the journal as well is a lot of fun.
Yeah. Judy G has just said, Lisa, I see you're from London. My son lives there, and I just returned from a 2-week visit. I'm from Alberta.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, and well, Judy has been invited to be a guest, but I was talking about this in a live mixed media thing that I did yesterday. I think, Judy, take heart. I am going to be offering an option for people who, and maybe Denise is another one, Carrie, Sandy, offering an option for people who aren't quite as gregarious and confident as Lisa here, to be able, or who have scheduling conflicts, to be able to do a live craft and chat where I would be, because I ask good questions, I would be asking the questions while, it's just the hands showing, doing something. But so anyway, I'm planting the seed there. So this, I would think, and maybe you haven't stopped to think about it, but it seems to me that you would have learned the discipline that is required to finish a college program. You would have learned how to, manage income and expenses. You're obviously very capable around a sewing machine, creative in the sense that you were taking an idea from up here, putting it onto paper and making it real in the real world. So I think that sounds like an incredible background. And obviously, I also believe that everything that we ever learn through the people we meet, the books we read, the things we do, it all adds up to make us who we are. So, I hope that there's no feeling of, oh, I missed my calling. It was a waste of time or anything, because absolutely not.
No, I don't feel, I mean, some days I do wish that things had turned out differently, of course, that I didn't. I could have seen it through to a different
level.
Yeah, I would have been curious, but the timing, my timing was off, and the one big takeaway that I notice, having separated the fashion from the journaling, is I've learned over the years not to be nearly as hard on myself as I used to be when it comes to making mistakes, making decisions, making, just, I flow better now than I did back in the day. And certainly with age, comes a certain amount of wisdom, hopefully. But I'm not nearly as hard on myself as I used to be, because I felt that, and maybe it's because I'm not selling in person, but I was very, very hard on myself back in the day, because I felt like if I was going to show somebody something and I wanted them to give me money for it, it had to be perfect.
Yeah.
And the beauty, of course, especially with journals and junk journals, is that it's not supposed to be perfect. That's the whole point of the exercise, right? Yeah. And so, yeah, it's a much better place, to be able to look at something and just like it for the sake of liking it, regardless of whether or not you think there's mistakes in it or you would have done it differently, or that kind of.
One thing I liked about watching your channel and getting to know you that way is that as much as I think on the surface you would come across as, oh, isn't she just lovely? She's funny and she giggles and she has self-effacing, humor and so on. But the flip side of all, and that's all true from what I can tell. The flip side of that is that um, you're a smart cookie and you are not afraid to show courage and vulnerability. So, um, I think people who have been here on more than one occasion know that when I research, I basically, pick videos randomly that appeal to me either because of a particular project or because of an interesting title or that I think would give a cross section. So you have done a few different things. Um, I watched you do that thing about the emotions journal where you've got that little scowly faced
Yes.
character on the. So, people, you might want to find that video on her channel because the idea that some people have is that, ooh, we have to be very cautious about what we put down on paper because we could be snuffed out at any moment and our survivors would be left finding our stuff where maybe we've bared our souls or named names or whatever. And you came up with an alternative way to do the emotional work of getting this stuff out of your body and out of your mind without risking, embarrassment or hurt, if it were discovered by somebody. So that's a video worth watching. You also did, I think, 2 or 3 videos on mood and vision board. I thought that was really good too. Um, I have in quotes here that you feel your emotions very deeply. You were also vulnerable enough to say that you've had issues with your mother that have led you to years of therapy. Are both your parents still alive?
My dad is. My mom
Oh,
passed
okay.
3 years ago, but my dad is still alive. Yeah.
So I think that the takeaway for me from all of this is that I would hope that all of us as YouTube creators, that people hang around long enough to find out that we're multidimensional people. We're not just the jokester or the klutz or the intellect or the whatever title might be kind of the first impression, but rather that we have the range of emotions. We share what we feel like we need to or can share, and sometimes we need to keep our cards close to our chests and just kind of maybe focus on the job at hand, but that everyone has a lot more depth to them than it might first appear.
Mm-hmm.
So I know in one of the videos you said that you love talking and you did sort of this. So do you find that it's hard for you to, like, do you ever feel that you're oversharing or you think, oh my God, why did I say that? Or are you happy that you're engaging with your, like, what you see is what you get? This is who I am. I need to say this. And hopefully you're able to accept me saying it. Is that more what it's like, or how do you approach it?
Yes. I mean, again, like I said earlier, I decided that I was going to just be me on the channel. And I mean, sometimes I struggle with how much to say, how much to share, how personal do you get with some of these things, in the sense that you don't want to overshare and take away from the real purpose of the video, right? But I sort of have this part of my personal philosophy is that if I can help one person feel better by expressing something, that then my job is done. I mean, I feel very much that, you know, we all go through stuff, and we all have incredibly complicated relationships and emotions. And even though we know intellectually we're not alone, or that we're not the only one, we can find ourselves feeling incredibly isolated and alone, and we think we're the only one. And so there's this kind of disconnect between what our brain knows and what our heart feels, and what our soul would feel.
Yeah.
And I just decided very early that part of my service to humanity, if you will, would be to just say things to let people know that they're not the only one, and that we have more in common than sometimes we think, and that sometimes you just need it can be so helpful to have your feelings reflected back to you.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to be Gandhi and save the world, but I I I remember being in a journal group very, very early on, when I discovered journals and junk journaling, and I was in something called Self Love September. And the gal that was doing this course that I was taking, she had talked about self-forgiveness and allowing yourself to forgive your mistakes, and to just, give yourself a little bit of freedom and movement to say, yeah, I made a mistake, and there's no shame in that. It's okay, because we all make mistakes. And she just said it in such a way that I sat on my couch and I just stared at her, and I was like, she just opened up this world for me, and I was like, oh my God, self-forgiveness, like I just
What a concept.
right, right. And so I sort of in some way made a little promise to myself that if I could do that, what she did for me, if I could do that every once in a while for someone else, that I would consider that to be a very important thing to do for somebody, to just share through conversation, that sometimes you just need to exhale and just be like, oh, thank you. Like, oh my God. Right? Like, I,
When Melissa suggested that I interview you, of course, I wasn't aware of your channel, so I randomly picked a video or two to watch, and I thought, for some of the reasons I've already said, I thought, oh yeah, I think I would really connect with this woman. And one of the things that I noticed, what at that time, and I have no idea where you're facing in your room there at the time, or where you're located in your room, but there was a sign there about swearing, and I thought,
maybe swearing well.
yeah. So yeah, I've tried to be more grown up and mature in that department, but I know that Teresa used to maintain a swear jar where every time I said something that she considered a swear, she'd put money in a jar to buy to buy craft supplies. But I've been so good lately. I want to just jump into these comments and see what's been going on. So it was when I was talking about the other option for potential guests to Heart to Heart. So Denise says, I'm a big old babbling chicken. Christina, who has been interviewed, says, she's talking to Denise, she says, it's really hard to put your face out there. And Hope, who just yesterday agreed to be a guest on Heart to Heart, is now saying she would prefer to have a craft and chat. So anyway, Jude says, how do you deal with peeps who may suggest that what you create is not a new idea or design when on media platforms? I know a lot of the older creators I know have been destroyed by the comments. So have you ever, well, I've never encountered that. Have you?
Where people no, I mean, the only thing that's come up a few times is I've had people try and chastise me for using certain words that they found politically incorrect, and which I didn't know were politically incorrect, but I just ignored it. I mean,
Yeah. I think that sometimes, especially those of us who are aiming for authenticity, um, as opposed to political correctness or trying to contort ourselves to fit into the algorithm success story, um, just eventually, and maybe it comes with age too, where you feel like, oh my goodness, I'm way past the age for playing games and whitewashing stuff and you know, like, can someone just please say what is self-evident here and say it
yeah.
out loud, and let's not be such cowards. But you know, again, is
Well, you
that
know, it's
holding my
interesting.
channel back? I don't know.
You interviewed somebody that I was watching your last night, and she talked about, gosh, who was it? She had gotten one really nasty comment. She said, it really bothers me because I had 30 other happy, positive, really affirming comments, and she was obsessing about the one that was really terrible.
Yeah.
Right. And that really broke my heart, because it's sad that we fixate on the negative when somebody decides to be mean or disrespectful or whatever it is. I think that having a smaller channel certainly has its benefits in that way, that you
Fewer
don't.
trolls.
Yes. Now I will say this, there, when you set up your YouTube channel, you can put in words
Oh
that,
yes.
right? So I came across this list of over 1,000 words. Some of it I is outrage. I mean, words that I never knew, that I never should have known about. But anyways, I have a very comprehensive list of things, so maybe that kind of helps as well. Um, I think that there's some people that they just think that they can get away with saying negative things too, and then there's other channels where they just don't try. I don't know. I don't, because I don't understand why you would want to go onto somebody's channel and be mean to them. Somebody
Yeah.
you don't even know. It
Yeah.
doesn't compute.
Yeah. Um, just to keep going here, Jude is saying, right, Hazel, every creator has a story to tell. Teresa's saying, and Teresa knows everything about everything, like music and sports and all that. To quote Train the band, whatever, I don't know who they are, we've all got bruises. So, you know, that goes to the whole vulnerability, personality quirks, flaws, you call it what you want. But Jude is saying, but hold things way closer to your heart. Julie is saying, loving this conversation. Teresa, there are a lot of people who put on rose colored glasses, but in reality, there are no perfect people. We are perfectly imperfect, and that is okay. Um, Denise is saying, Jude, I, I taught, I'm not sure, there's maybe a missing word there, a long time ago, that mean comments define the person saying the words, not the receiver. If you stay kind, it makes your heart, and annoys the means that you can stay nice. So yeah, it's not sinking to that level and engaging and whatever. Melissa's saying no one is perfect. Um, okay, Denise is saying makes your heart happy. Okay, Teresa's mourning my improved vocabulary. She says she's getting poor now. Melissa says authenticity is the reason I love Lisa. She's real. Hope what you see is what you get. Hope to meet you one day soon, Lisa. So let me refer to my notes here and see what things I'm forgetting to get to, because of course, you know, everything that, in case anyone wonders, this is why I don't have predetermined questions, and I don't share the questions with the guest, because I think that if you and I were in a coffee shop, or you and any of my guests were in a coffee shop, this is the way the conversation would go. It would go back and forth, sideways, hither and yon, up and down, backtracking, and you know, broken sentences. So um, I have a couple of other quotes. So we put again, this back to the sort of the look at your room there and all the lovely containers. So you said, yeah, we put our stuff in stuff. And I'm thinking, yeah, that's a laugh out loud moment, because isn't that the truth?
Come to my channel and watch me glue paper to paper.
Yeah. You also said craft supplies are made to be used, not just admired. And I mean, if I had a nickel for every video or every content creator I've been hearing lately who is on that same, we're all beating the same drum, it says.
Yeah.
I have a hashtag or a playlist on my channel called Use It, Don't Store It. Like or arm's length art, use what is within reach. So we're all feeling the same way. I also had down here that were you into card making at one point? Like, other than starting sewing at 6, were you the kind of person that did all the crafts all the way, whatever was hot at the moment you delved into, or not really?
No. In fact, I was pretty much just single-minded with the sewing. I learned how to crochet around, I don't know, 2000, I guess. And that was the first time I had tried anything sort of outside of sewing. And then the transition from clothing to paper was literally about the shipping issue.
Do you know Jamie V. Rancho?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, hello and welcome to Heart to Heart. Lisa is an exceptional talent, and I really admire her carefree, creative approach to every project she takes on. Her videos never fail to make me laugh and genuinely brighten my day. Well, isn't that a lovely person in the street testimonial?
Thank you. That's sweet.
And I think, one of the side benefits, or I had no idea what I was getting myself into when I came up with this concept. I just knew that I wanted to know more about people out there. And, if we take 25 years and we watch every single thing that any one particular person says, eventually we would get to know who they are and what they're about and so on. But who's got that kind of time? So I thought, I want it to be less superficial and more real. That's the tagline, real conversation with real people. So it is so gratifying to me to see when there are new people in the chat who hopefully, the people who are new to you, hopefully are subscribing to your channel. The people who are new to me are hopefully subscribing to my channel. The people in the chat who are new to each other are hopefully, and that's why I'm so glad we have moderators doing those links. So over the course of these interviews, we've had people talk about being recovering alcoholics. We've had, and we were all gobsmacked to hear about someone who was really severely abused by her parent, and just to the point that we were crying on TV. People have talked about learning disabilities and anxiety and medication and health, physical health challenges, so on. But the love and support that occurs in the chat, without exception, has been a joy to behold, because again, we're all flawed. We all have, stuff that people like and stuff that people don't like, but we can identify sorrow in other people's stories. We can appreciate the joy in other people's stories, and we hopefully can share the burden, share the delight when this fellow human being is either celebrating or suffering. So that, just thank you to everyone who takes the time to comment, because it makes a difference. Jude is saying, love the spontaneity of the questions, Hazel. Teresa says, Jamie, it only took me watching one of her videos to know that immediately. So I guess, Teresa's ultimate is very curious. So I'm sure that once my schedule for the month came out, she probably did her own research on you. Jude says, off the cuff gets us together without a scripted line, and we actually learn to get to know each other. And aside from the warm, fuzzy feelings that I think we sometimes share here, I also like to think about the practical things that we share. So, when people offer a shortcut or name a product or mention a channel that helps us with things that are challenging us, that's worth the price of admission too.
Yeah.
Anyway, let me check my notes here again.
One thing I did want to say about my friend Jamie that had left a lovely comment. One of the things that he does for me that I tend to get stuck watching the same kinds of journaling videos, whether it's on Instagram or on YouTube. Like I just kind of go down, I don't know. It's like, okay, I like collage, so I'm going to watch collage this, collage that. I sort of stick to this. And without fail, Jamie's always sending me videos and he's like, oh my God, look at what this person did here with ink. Look at what this person did with paint. Look at what this person. And so he's really great at pushing me in these different creative directions, which I would have never thought to go down. And then the next thing you know, I'm down a rabbit hole and I'm looking up paints on Amazon that I probably don't need to buy, but she used them in the video and I want to buy them. And that's the other great thing is when you share this, our love of journaling and paper crafts. And it's so much fun when other people are like, hey, look what I found. I found this person doing this. And you had no idea that this was even a thing that you could consider, right? I love that. I love the way that people share everybody else's ideas. And you get a glimpse into these other worlds of how other people are using their journals. It's just fascinating.
So, does Jamie have his own channel?
No.
Oh,
he's an enthusiast.
He could have been the second only man to ever be interviewed in this thing.
Well, Jamie is very much an interesting character on his own. You never know. You can only ask and see what he says.
Well, and I have interviewed people who don't have channels. Jude is saying, and honestly, Jude, I don't know if this is the first time you're here or not, but I definitely want to get to know you a little better. She says, I think I have to say Miss Hazel is becoming my new mama. Just saying straight up, and yet has a heart. Well, I try. That's lovely. I appreciate that. Okay, I read that I heard you love masterboards, which is why I was trying to talk you into becoming part of my March collab, and I will send you that after we're done here. That you love true crime and forensics, and I'm thinking there is a whole subset of us out there who love that stuff. So are you talking about books or podcasts or Netflix or everything?
I always say if I was book smart as opposed to artsy fartsy, I would have gone into forensics. I love all kinds of true crime, and sadly, with true crime, somebody usually dies. That's very sad.
Yeah.
So you have to, but I'm so fascinated by the science of finding all of these clues and who did it and the DNA and the fact now that they're using DNA and connecting. Nancy Grace had this show that I saw on Prime, and they're using seventh cousin DNA to find out who killed who in 1942. It's crazy. Oh God, I could watch true crime all day, every day. I love it.
I can't remember what that. Oh, it might be called Forensic Files.
Yes.
Is that the show where they do all those cases from the 80s?
Yes.
So it's
Well,
like
that's
a
one of
step
many.
back in time.
Well, you can watch Unexplained. What's that one with Robert? What's his name? Unexplained Mysteries. They show the
Oh.
80s version on Prime. So
The
regularly I
thing
go back.
that I'm always fascinated by this show, maybe I've got the title wrong, that I'm thinking about. Number one, we get to see those hairdos and fashions all over again, and number two, we think, oh my God, these guys are bumbling around this scene because they, DNA hadn't yet been
No.
invented, and some of these other tools that are, modern day tools. But yeah, it's people, you either get it or you don't.
Yeah.
Either you
I
love the
get
stuff
that.
or you don't.
I get that from my baba. She always had true detective crime magazines in the house.
So was it you that did a flip through? Okay, you had a bag or you were doing an unboxing or something of stuff you found in your dad's attic?
Mm-hmm.
And were there crime magazines in there?
No.
I know you giggled like heck over.
No, there was Tiger Beat magazine in there, and there was a Mary Poppins book, and all kinds of co-ed magazines, and a couple of 17 magazines from like 1980.
And I'm thinking, how is it possible that this woman remembers all these boys that she had crushes on way back in the day? And you seem to be able to recognize their young faces and know their names and what they did. And I'm thinking, holy cow. The head for detail. Okay. Carol is saying, Jude, I love when circles overlap and our community grows. So fun to see you here after hanging out last night. Oh, so she was at your sale last night. Okay, yes, it's becoming clearer. Okay, what else have I got here? Do you want to just do your, well, I have two things. Do you want to talk about Halloween and what your fascination is? I wish Gwen the Trash Witch was here tonight because she loves Halloween, as does her friend Tony's Magical Arts and Crafts. You guys would get along famously. Frankly, I don't get the Halloween thing, but I know that you're a big fan. So what is the appeal for you?
I think the big, really the crux of it is the creativity that comes with Halloween. Anything's possible. Anything goes. Anything. If you can dream it up, it's okie dokie, right? Like you're just so when I've always loved Halloween, except for a period of time when I lived downtown in London. And then I hated Halloween because it was just always such a disaster of university students. And then when we moved here, when I first realized that I could leave things outside and they wouldn't get stolen, I was like, well, I'm back, baby, I'm back. So,
but you've done a lot of videos and created a lot of journals along that theme. So you just love the imagery, the magic of it all?
I think it's part and parcel of my coming together of creativity and true crime and all things weird and wonderful and spooky and creepy and ghosts and all of it. I enjoy living in a world where there's, not everything has an explanation and not everything, is as it seems, so to speak. And Halloween really encompasses that for me. Yeah. And I love, I go full tilt on the front lawn. It's, we expected 1,000 kids last year. A whole street decorates now because of something I started. And if it wasn't for the World Series baseball game, we would have hit 1,000 kids. So it's taking on a life of its own where I create all these props and these decorations, and I start, in June, and it just.
So does your old fashion design, sewing ability come into play here, or is
Yes.
it not
Yes.
really textile based?
I don't usually have time to make myself a costume because I'm so busy with other things. But
Oh,
this year,
just sorry, let me interrupt. Gwen has just joined us. She says, "Hi, ladies. My ears are burning. I've been driving and listening, and she's home now." So, Gwen, this is somebody you need to connect with, and vice versa, because you both have the Halloween. And Gwen was actually interviewed by me. Very, just a lovely person to get to know as well. So I'm glad to be able to match make you two. And I'll put in a plug for Gwen's current collab with Tony. They also do miniature stuff. Anyway, they are doing a collab the first day of every month called Paint with Paint with Paper. So I didn't know about it, but I did my video, I did my project, and it will be airing one day next week. So, but anyway, you got to check her out.
okay.
Okay, let me see what else here. Okay, you seem to always, you have things in your Etsy shop, and you do an awful lot of talking about snail mail and pen pals. Is that something that how did you get into that? I mean, I think we all had pen pals when we were kids in school, but it seems oxymoronic in today's age of texts and email. So how do you maintain that?
There is a growing, simmering desire for many things analog, despite everybody's absolute addiction to texting and email and all of that. But the again, the connections made through pen paling and happy mail, those things I don't think ever really went away. Perhaps there's a generational element on some level to it, but it's one of the most simple things that you can do is send somebody a postcard, and the effects that postcard can have at the other end of its journey is really quite remarkable. There's nothing much, or I should say, one of the more simpler joys in life is opening up your mailbox and realizing that there's something in there that's not a bill, and you sort of pull this thing out and for me, for mom, right? It really, I mean, it's not going to solve all your problems, but it certainly puts a little kick in your step. And I find that postcards and pen pals, they hold a very special place in our heart. It is extremely, what's the word? It's one of those very simple analog pleasures. You don't have to have anything other than a postcard and a stamp and hugs and kisses, and there you go.
Yeah, I think you were referring to someone having received a postcard or something from someone in Europe. So, the world becomes that much smaller when we reach out in that way.
That's right.
Okay, and of course, as I am prone to do, I interrupted you when you were talking about the Halloween decorations, and Carol wants me to get back to that. Finish about your Halloween decorations. You were saying you don't make a costume, but so you're talking about yard displays or yard decorations.
So yes, we have some scary trees, we have some coffins, but this year, or the last one, I took my witchy poo and I gave her a makeover, and she became a fortune teller. So I inevitably end up sewing something, whether it's curtains for the fortune telling booth or witchy poo's new dress. Usually my husband figures out how to talk me into making him some sort of costume. So the sewing definitely comes in handy for Halloween. Yes.
That's very cool. Yeah, I was the kind of mother that would buy my kids a Halloween costume. I remember, and of course, in our part of Alberta, it could get awfully cold some years
Yes.
for Halloween. So my son, who is now obviously a grown man, had some kind of a plasticky costume, and I think actually it cracked and broke in the cold one
In
year.
the cold. Well, yes,
And
we used to, as kids, we used to have to figure out what kind of costume we would wear in case we had to put it over our winter coat
yeah,
if it would snow, right?
and I thought, oh damn, another year I'm not getting the Super Mom award. Oh dear. Okay, let's see what's happening here. Jude says, agree, Lisa, the simplicity and genuine love. I think that's the Happy Mail and the postcard. Teresa says, we go crazy with Halloween, but the most we've ever had was about 32, usually around 14. Okay, so, like I'm kind of old here. So when people use acronyms, Jude says RAK equals always works, and it's without any obligation. It's sent from the heart to another. What is RAK? Gwen says, Lisa, you are my people. So glad. Gigi says, how fun. Gwen says, so glad I got to meet you today.
Me too.
Denise says she's reminding Teresa that she said that she heard a cuss word.
It was me.
I thought, like, I know that in a couple of your videos you were talking about, random acts of kindness. Okay, thank you for explaining. And Susan. Okay, Carol, Susan, Jude, all explained. In a couple of your videos, you were talking about using materials in your journals that you had gotten from Prague in Czechoslovakia. So I said to you before we went live, like, what's the connection to that? So do you want to just tell the people your story? Or, well, his story?
My husband is from Prague originally, and he's been in Canada for a very, very long time. And we met on a Christmas Eve party that I had through a mutual friend of ours. And up until then, I really didn't know much about Prague or the Czech Republic at that point either. But yeah, I would go with him every May. We would go and visit his mom, and we would stay there in Prague. And until I had met Milos, of course, I hadn't traveled very much, and I certainly hadn't ever been to Europe, and I certainly hadn't ever visited a country where English didn't get spoken. So that was a real eye-opener, let me tell you. But I have to say, his mother and I got along like a house on fire, but she didn't speak English really, and my Czech was limited to colors and numbers and please and thank yous. So it was always quite an adventure to go and stay with her. And but he had defected from communist Czechoslovakia in 1988, and he worked as a bartender at the Czech airport in Prague. And because he was working at the airport, he was allowed to travel, and he was given a little bit more leeway with where he was allowed to go because he worked at the airport and his father was a bigwig at the airport. So when he was a young man, around 17 or 18, he was given special permission to go to Australia. He was given special permission to go to Singapore because these were Western countries. They weren't under any kind of communist rule. Now, if they wanted, they could at the time travel freely to other communist countries without having too much trouble. So when he had told me that when he found out that they had lied to them about Chernobyl was when he knew he had to get out. He had 2 young sons at the time, and he did not want to raise them under that regime. So he made the decision to flee the country, and he left with the premise of going to Cuba. So there was no problem to go to Cuba, but they knew that the plane would stop in Montreal from Prague, And then from Montreal, they would go directly to Cuba. So when they got to Montreal, he and the two other people that he came with, they landed and got off the plane and defected to Canada at
And
that
never
point.
left.
And never left. That's right.
So, again, without getting, going down a rabbit hole here, but so is he safe at this point? I mean, this many years later?
Yeah. In fact, he recently got, which is
his
kind of
citizenship.
ironic, he got his Czech passport back, and I was like, really? You went to a lot of work to get rid of it, but anyways, yeah. I mean, but I mean, the other thing was nobody really anticipated that the wall would come down in 1989. So, he was free to go back in the early 90s. But it was a little dicey. He wasn't really sure what was going to happen with his family once they figured out that he wasn't coming back. So it was a window into a whole world that I knew about, but to have, to hear the stories firsthand about what it was like to live there. And it certainly lent itself a little bit to better understanding what my grandparents left behind when they came to Canada from Ukraine. Sadly, what they left in the 20s wasn't that different than what Milos found that he really needed to leave in the mid 80s, right?
Yeah. And I think it just is a reminder to us all that, none of us came here. None of us came here originally. Our
Right.
families, like everyone is an immigrant. So maybe we need to be a little kinder and more loving to each other. Anyway, okay. We're at the 1.5 hour mark, so I should probably begin my long descent into saying goodbye. I do have some standard questions that I ask. So, are you an introvert?
Sometimes. I think my nature depends on the situation. I mean, I spend an enormous amount of time alone down here in my studio, working by myself, and I have for years and years, and I'm very happy working on my own. So from that point, probably, but when I go out into the world, I enjoy being an extrovert as well.
Yeah, I think that is the most common answer. We all love people, but too much is draining, and we need that refreshing alone thing. How do you feel about purple?
I love purple. I came
good.
prepared. My purple sweater.
Very good. A couple of questions I've added to my repertoire here. This arose out of the first Teresa, Purple Lovers Unite. We do have the pink crowd as well. When I interviewed Vicky, Retro Queen Bee Art, so that was the first interview of this year, I asked whether or not, and I began asking all the guests, do you come up with a word of the year? And if so, do you want to share it with us?
This year, my word of the year is fancy.
Fancy. That's so fancy.
Well, I decided that there's a saying that I won't say because I don't want you to have to put money in the cuss jar, but stuff's about to get fancy, and I just decided I didn't have enough fancy stuff in my life, and I don't know how much longer I have on this planet, and I think that I should spend more time with fancy stuff.
Now, is it too personal to say what is fancy stuff? Are you talking in the context of your studio? Or are you talking about jewels and baubles and party dresses?
I just think, in general, especially since COVID and lockdowns, I got real plain and real boring real fast. And I've decided that I need to pull out all of the glitter and things that, I for whatever reason I didn't reach for. So fancy is all encompassing. I want fancy in the journal. I'm going to look for fancy earrings. I want fancy shoes. I want fancy food. I think it all should be fancy now.
That answer is a breath of fresh air, because I think most of us are tempted to pick something kind of very aspirational and cerebral, and it's gotta be really like serious stuff.
Well, and that was last year's word was alchemy. So I'm guilty of that as well. And that was all fine and dandy until tariffs, and then there was no more alchemy. So like we need to rethink this a little bit.
Yeah. So a month and 6 weeks in, has Fancy been working for you?
So far, it's been pretty good. Yep. I've got my some glitter out. I got my glitter glue sticks.
Yes. Oh, yes. You were raving about your glitter glue sticks. And for those of you who weren't here right from the beginning, we are wearing our Ukrainian kerchiefs here. Well, kerchief and shawl.
Our babushka.
Yeah. And I put on bracelets too, because I'm thinking, much like you, I'm thinking I have all this stuff in my jewelry box or whatever. I don't work in jewelry, but surely I can spiff it up a bit for these interviews. I could change out these earrings instead of wearing the same ones every time. I could throw on a ring or a bracelet. If you've ever watched the women from the mother-daughter duo from PM Artist Studios, who I've also interviewed, those women, big earrings, multiple necklaces, umpteen bracelets on both hands, and sometimes a scarf to boot. So, we could be starting a fashion thing here.
Well, it's fun. And I think that that's the other thing that I had to remind myself, especially the end of last year was so bloody difficult. I was like, you have to have more fun. Even in the smallest of ways, look for ways to have more fun. Stop being so serious.
Yeah.
Meaning not me, like to myself. I'm saying, Lisa, stop being so serious.
I'm thinking you need to give yourself a pep talk about like lightening up. That seems a little hard to believe.
I have my dark moments.
And then the final sort of regular question is, what is the best thing about getting older?
Ooh, so many things, really, in the sense that my perspective is constantly changing and for the better. And so, like I even said earlier about not being quite so hard on myself or not being so self-critical, not caring so much what other people think. Not that I do that much, but the older I get, the more I just think, okay, if you don't like that, that's fine. And just sort of move on.
Yeah.
And just being more, it sounds cliche, but just being more true to myself. Like, just, again, if it makes me happy, wear it. If I want to have the crazy earrings, wear it. If I don't want to go out and do what everybody else is doing, I'm not going to do it. Like, I don't have to be told what to do anymore.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of freedom that comes with that. Reaching us, and I think for most people, it's either a biological age, or maybe it's a certain level of maturity where a person realizes that, we only go around once. We're only responsible and accountable for our own behavior. We really don't care what anyone else thinks, because many of us have maybe spent our lives, or the good part of our lives, being people pleasers, being nurturers, being peacemakers, being all those, being mediators, whatever the role was, we happily took it on. And maybe it's high time we had our own time to, um, I don't know, just
Just not
be
care.
authentically ourselves.
Yeah. To not be so
Okay.
concerned about other people's opinions of us, because it's
Yeah.
not it's their opinion, not
Yeah.
ours, right?
Yeah. Teresa says that she has a sparkly blue and green fancy football necklace on. Oh, she's wearing it. Oh, because she's still in Seahawks mode. And it was the last gift that her mother gave her. Um, I always ask people if, like, are you a planner? Do you have goals and so on set out for yourself and for your channel for the or your website or your Etsy for the year, or is it more by the seat of your pants?
It's a little bit of both, in the sense that I know what kind of direction I want to go in, what kinds of things that I need to do to try and fix my website, make it more Canadian friendly, things that I need to do going down the road to adjust how I'm going to run my business, what I'm going to offer. So I look at the year that way and be like, okay, what do I need to do to fix and control the things that I can control and that I can fix? Do I plan out exactly what I'm doing tomorrow as far as how many Pinterest pins I need to make? No. But do I know what journals I want to make overall this year? Yes, because I made a list with Jamie and he's going to hold me to it. So, in that regard, it's a little from column A, a little from column B. I'm not a super duper hardcore planner. I wake up in the morning and I decide, based on the things that need to get done, what do I feel like doing that day?
Okay, so for people who want to get more of you, there's the YouTube channel, the website, the Etsy store. You obviously are on Pinterest as well and Instagram.
Yep.
Um,
I don't
is that it? How do you have
Instagram.
time for all of that, by the way?
I don't always, like, I was just going to say, I don't put as much stuff on Instagram as I should. I
Yeah.
don't get on YouTube as much as I should. I just do. I need to. I need to reprioritize a little bit and make YouTube more of a priority, because that's where I find the fun connections are made. That's some of the best people in the world now that I've met has been because of YouTube. And I also recently started a Halloween channel for on YouTube. So I'm going to be doing more of that. And again, that's to connect me with also more people who love Halloween as well. So
what is that channel called?
That's called Where Midnight Looms.
Where Midnight Looms.
Yeah.
So Gwen, are you writing that down?
And that's all kinds of Halloween stuff. That's not just crafts. I started out with vlogs from last Halloween, showing all the daily things that I did, and then I'm gonna come up with some scary stories and narrate some stuff for that channel. I think that's my next thing.
Gwen says, "Wait, what?" Okay, so the link that Teresa put in there says at Isla and Alice Tiny Tales.
That was I started that for shorts on YouTube. But I've since heard, because there was a theory.
Oh, she found it. Where Midnight Looms.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Yes.
Good Lord. I think we've created a monster here, or a monster relationship. That sounds really good. Now, are there any final parting words of advice? I know we didn't get into, I mean, I could probably talk to you for the rest of the evening, but we know that that's not exactly, we have to be, kind of practical here as well. Oh, I did want to comment on something else. I noticed that on your Etsy shop, and I thought that's because she's been there for 19 years. Beautiful photography.
Oh, thank you.
You took those Etsy people to heart when they say we find that videos sell product better than so you have videos of goof did I say goofy of very practical things like if you buy a digital, here's how you could trim it. So they're
Right.
very like I've never seen that before. And I'm thinking, well, I should sure as hell step up my photography because it just looked so beautiful. It was intentional and instructive.
Well, I sort of thought two things. One, what have I been asked before? And the other thing I have to constantly remind myself, and this, it sounds so obvious, but I have to remember that not everybody knows what I know. And not everybody knows even the most things that you think are the most obvious. So that's why I've made some of those quick little videos showing, because if you've never bought a digital before, you don't know what
Yeah.
you don't know. I mean, I always say, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, I thought that was I think we could all learn something. If not necessarily trying to contrive a video for every product, certainly the beautiful photography. You obviously stage it. I started to recognize those beautiful little scissors.
Yes, yes. Yeah, they've gotten me far, those little scissors. Yeah, well, you're looking for an aesthetic that's going to appeal to like-minded people.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's sort of, anyways. And I like stuff.
No brainer.
I like to
but
put
we
stuff
need
with my
reminding.
stuff.
So again, I will give you the chance to answer this time. What if any message do you have, or what would you like to say as we wind this down? Do you have advice for people who are just brand new or considering a channel, or
I would say a couple of quick things. One would be, like we talked about earlier, just be you and do you. If you don't want to put your face on camera, then don't, because it will come across really quickly that you don't want your face on camera. So if you're just a hands-only kind of person, then there's nothing wrong with that. That will take you far. Don't get too caught up in what the experts will tell you, because the experts are always changing their mind on what is right and what is wrong on YouTube. There are a couple people that I do follow who I think are very good at giving you honest advice about how to grow a channel. And the other, right?
Name drop them.
Oh, I would have to look up. I would have to look it up. I could tell you. One is what's her name? I don't know her name offhand. Do you want me to look it up real quick? Because
if you can, then it would go in the chat. But if you can't,
okay.
then
Yep. Hang on, give me 1 second here.
In the meantime, we'll look at your train case and your.
Oh yeah.
Is that a garbage can? Is that a garbage can there?
Yeah, that was my Baba's.
Your Baba gave you a lot of good stuff.
Oh yeah, she did. Okay, it's Diane Moore. Diane with
maybe spell it, please.
Diane, and her last name is Moore, Moore.
And you said good YouTube advice?
I find her to be really, she's our age, and in the sense that she talks a lot about, practical things, and she's just very grounded and centered in her approach. And I've watched just about everything she's put out there. She's very honest. She's very encouraging. And that would be the other thing that I would say, is that YouTube is a long game, and you can't get too frustrated too quickly. And so there's that. The other most important thing is, even if you've got 5 people watching your channel or a video or whatever it is, I think of it like this. If I was making my journal and 5 people were standing here talking to me and watching me do that, I would be more than happy with that. So don't get too crazy about the metrics and the numbers and feel like no one's watching, because that's not that shouldn't be why you do it. First, and the other thing really is YouTube is evergreen, and people sort of forget that YouTube is more of a search engine than it is social media. In fact, it's not really social media at all. And so if you approach YouTube, and this has gotten me through some difficult times where I've questioned whether or not is anybody watching, I realized that when I put out a video, it's going to be good next week, next month, next year. And whereas if you put something on Instagram, it's in the ether in an hour, it's gone. Nobody's going to find it. But you're evergreen on YouTube, and people can always find you. And even you can even go back and make adjustments to your titles, to your descriptions. That will help the algorithm. And the other thing to remember is when you're speaking and when you're talking on YouTube, YouTube takes your entire transcript, and so everything you say is transcribed and it goes through the algorithm. So even if you feel like your title isn't great, or you're having trouble with the description, the things that you say in your video also will contribute to the algorithm showing you to like-minded people. And so in that way, if you look at what you're putting out there as a evergreen product, then it's always going to be helpful, and it's always going to be searchable, and you're always going to be found, and you just don't disappear, which I find on days where I'm struggling, or I think, what do I want to talk about? And I think, well, just talk about whatever, because eventually somebody's going to look that thing up and say, how do you do a pamphlet stitch? Or how did you do that collage, or whatever it is, right?
And you're totally right, because some of the videos of yours I watched were 2 years old.
Yeah.
And the content was still just as relevant and, relevant and legit today as it was the day you made it.
Right. And that's not necessarily true on other platforms. Especially if we're getting not caught up, but if you find that you're really into certain trends or things that are, I guess trend is the best word to use. I don't tend to get up all crazy about trends and what's hot and what it was ever. I just do what I like.
Yeah.
And because then again, I'm not at the mercy of the trend.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Just keep going, and it's very difficult to do. And this is where I like watching Diane's videos, because she talks about this a lot. YouTube should be fun, and it should be something that brings you joy and connection. Yeah. It can feel like a bit of a job, because it takes an enormous amount of time. My last video, between making the journal, doing the editing, getting prepared, there's probably 25, 30 hours in it in total to get it from start to finish. So it can feel laborious.
Yeah.
But you know what? It should be just enjoy it, and don't let anybody tell you what you should or shouldn't do.
I want to thank you so much for being here. You were an absolute delight. I want to thank Melissa again for suggesting you. And honestly, to anyone watching this live or in the replay, if you have ideas for people, I mean, we've been around long enough, 37 weeks for heaven's sakes, long enough that people should be able to get a feel for the sorts of people we love to talk to. So, suggestions are always welcome. I like that you're a fellow Canuck, and I hope that, offline you and I can maybe talk about doing some things together. Definitely. That would advance both our causes. I'm glad that you made us laugh repeatedly. I'm glad you shared some, tangible, practical advice as well. And again, I just, I hope that that you have enjoyed yourself, and obviously have been exposed to a lot more people. And And I think you might want, after we're offline, you might want to have a word with Baba Alice and ask her what the heck she was doing with the movement of the camera. If and given how much you love Halloween, you very well could have a ghost in your house
I wouldn't be surprised.
as
I
tech
wouldn't be
support there.
surprised. But anyways, I really do.
Anyway,
I appreciate Melissa throwing my hat into the ring and you taking the time to reach out. And it's been a lot of fun. And I would not have met you without it. And it was also fun watching your videos the last 3 days on and off, and watching all the interviews that you did with all the other gals and getting to know them as well. And see, this is sort of my point. This really is what YouTube is. YouTube is far ahead of the game with connection, I think, than any other platform. This is proof of the pudding. Like you said, you've been doing it for 37 weeks, 37 episodes, and all of the different people that you've met. And yet we still have this great commonality of creativity and journal and chatting and sharing and all of those really great things, right?
And the human experience.
The human
just in
experience.
general.
Yes, that's right.
I'll just read some of the final comments. Denise says, awesome interview, Hazel and Lisa. Great to meet you, Lisa. Have a blessed week, friends. Teresa, as always, Hazel, this was a great interview. Looking forward to watching more of Lisa and her assistant, Jamie.
He's my manager.
Yeah. Gigi says, so nice to have met you, Lisa. Carol says, hugs, everyone. Thanks for a kind and lovely chat. Gigi says, thanks, Hazel. Great interview. Gwen says, thank you so much, ladies. It has been so fun meeting you, Lisa. Hazel, another terrific interview. And Melissa, thanks for being here. Lisa, thanks for hosting. Lisa, Hazel, lots of fun. Yeah, Melissa, keep those good names coming. And of course, thank you, as always, to Carol and Teresa for moderating. Anyway, guys, it's not too late to still get something creative done tonight. Oh, your final word in every video is speak kindly to yourself.
Yes.
So can we embroider that on a cushion or something?
We sure could. Yes, we sure
Tattoo
could.
it on a forearm.
I've thought about it. Yeah, speak kindly to yourselves. Enjoy your journal process. And until the next video.
Okay, that's your closing. So we'll end on that. Okay, good night, everyone.
Good night. Bye-bye. Thanks, Hazel. Thanks, everybody. It was fun.
Bye-bye. Okay, so it has ended as far as the people are concerned. If I do it one more time, it will be cut off. So thanks so much. This has been really good.
Thank you. Fun. Yeah, me too. I knew we were gonna have fun. But yeah, this was good. And I hope that it was I hope there was a range of information that people could take from it. That's always my big thing, is that it's not just, I don't know how to say it. It's not monotonous. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I thought it was really good. Okay, I'm going to fire off that invitation to you. Again, I don't.
Yeah, I'll just have to check my schedule, because I'm a little bit, I wasn't expecting it, so I'm.
Yeah, and the thing with it is that you make the video, schedule it for whatever day you're scheduled for, and it's not like you have to be there on that specific day.
Right. Okay, I'll look at it.
One thing I wanted to ask, and I forgot to or didn't have time to, do you have a regular publication schedule, or like do you do Monday, like do you have or kind of just whenever the spirit moves you?
No, right now it's just whenever, because I find that I'm pulled in so many directions with trying to fix the website, learn about Kuzma, learn about, and then try and come up with fresh product to put on the website so it doesn't look stale and all that kind of thing. But to be honest with you, I have thought long and hard about what I'm going forward. I feel like I need to be a little bit more serious about YouTube. I think that because the number one driver of my sales was, up until August, was YouTube. So people would see me do something, and the sales were great. So I feel like going forward, even if I can't sell to Americans, I can sell to Canadians. And the best way that I can do that is through YouTube and them getting to know me. So it's the know, like, trust factor that you can use YouTube for. So I would like to get to a point where I'm making a video for each channel at least once a week.